Hey everybody, welcome to another GG.CO.UK video with me, Daryl Carter. We're going to do one of these each day for Aintree, just run through the card, hopefully pick out a few winners, give you some of my thoughts. The GG column, of course, will be up at 5 o'clock each day before the racing, the day before. So we'll kick straight off. 145 Aintree, Novice Chase, Manifesto Novice Chase. Fusil Raffles heads to market for Nicky Henderson, 5-2. Hitman has been supported into 5-2 Joint Fav. The Shunter, Eldorado Allen, Protectorat, Umbrigado and Phoenix Way. A tricky little race to kickstart proceedings at Aintree. It's going to be a cracking few days worth of action there. I quite like the 5-year-old Hitman for this. I think he's achieved quite a lot to date in just 7 runs. He's rated 151 already. He's only going to be rated higher than that going forward. He's got lots of progression to come. His jumping's not as slick as you would like it to be, but that is a department he can improve on. I definitely think he's going to be rated in the 160s in time. Whereas a lot of these, I don't think they're going to be beyond their ratings. And for me, I just feel like Hitman's got the most progression to come in the field. I do like Fusil Raffles. He's a nice horse, but I don't think he's a world beater. And I think he's a 155 horse. I don't think he's got too much more to come, to be honest with you. I know he's only a 6-year-old, but I just feel like we know where we are with him. And Hitman could just have a bit more to come. The Shunter is obviously the interesting one for Emmett Mullins, who I think has got about 100% record when sending horses over to England this season. This horse, we've got to remember, did win the Paddy Power Plate off a handicap mark effectively of 133, inclusive of Jordan Gainford's claim, £7 claim. He's effectively running against a lot, a better opposition here. The handicapper took a good view of that race. He's given him a rating of 153. That's effectively a £20 rise, really. And he's now rated £5 higher than Farclas, who finished second to him, beaten 3 lengths, but was giving him £13. Look, this just might be a step too far for the Shunter, I feel. Eldorado Allen, who finished behind Hitman at Sandown, in the Grade 1 Novice Chase there, won by All Mankind. I do think he's going to be the biggest danger. I thought he was ridden to place at Cheltenham, and those tactics sort of worked really well for him. He made a lot of ground up from 3 out to the line and finished behind Shishkin. I think the step up and trip is really going to suit Eldorado Allen, so he'd be the biggest danger to Hitman. But I do think Paul Nicholls, Harry Cobden can get the meeting off to a very good start with Hitman, who looks a very progressive, nice young chaser. So Hitman in the 145. In the 220, I really can't believe the price discrepancy between Monmin Rao and Adagio. Now, it has closed up a little bit, 15 to 8, 5 to 4 to 5, sorry. Monmin Rao heading the market here. For me, he needs to prove that he can do it on better ground. I think he's got a lot of question marks for an odds-on favourite. And the form line through Nassalam at Haydock, if you're taking that literally, then he deserves to be the odds-on favourite. I'm just not quite sure that Nassalam really ran his race that day. The time figure wasn't off the chart or anything like that. So I'm just taking a real dim view of the form of that race. I'm taking a very positive view of Adagio's form, especially the run at Chepstow where he beat Nassalam by only 2 1/4 lengths. I do think the Gary Moore horse ran his race that day. And the 3rd and 4th, Who Girls and Ellen Valley, filled those positions, albeit the other way round, at Cheltenham in a Boodles handicap, and the winner from that race has already gone out and given the form a good boost. So I think that's the most solid and reliable piece of form, the Chepstow run, and I think it came on unfavoured ground for Adagio. He's then gone to the Triumph Hurdle, finished a very good second behind Quilixios. Quilixios is a very smart horse, and the handicapper has only given him a £2 rise. I think he is the best horse in the race, and I'm very surprised that he is not favourite. So Adagio is going to get a bit of a punt in this race. Jean Locke, probably one of the more interesting outsiders for Dan Skelton. Paros shouldn't be written off either. He's a 16 to 1 shot, but he was quite highly touted by the Nicky Henderson camp before coming to Britain. So yes, I do think Adagio is the one to be on. Monmin Rao, for me, I'm going to try and take him on and get him beat. I'm not entirely convinced his price is correct at all, and I expect him to drift. The 250, the Betway Bowl, is a very tricky little race. Clan des Oboe heads the market at 5 to 2. Again, another Paul Nicholls runner. He's been well beaten on the 2 occasions he's ran at Aintree. They stick cheek pieces on him for the first time here. I'm just not convinced by Clan des Oboe. I thought he had everything in his favour at Kempton in the King George, waiting patiently finished in front of him that day. And I think Waiting Patiently has been crying out to go back up to 3 miles. I can't believe they dropped him back to 2 miles at Ascot. Behind First Flow in the Grade 1 chase there. I think beating 8 lengths over 2 miles is a credible effort, but I do think 3 miles is really where he ought to be plying his trade. He's only had 2 attempts at this trip. Both of those came in the King George, firstly unseated when I really strongly fancied him that day, and the second run was on Boxing Day on his penultimate start when he finished second to Frodon by 2.5 lengths, stayed on really strongly. I think he's got a bit more to come despite being a 10-year-old at this 3 mile trip. So I think he makes one of the more compelling cases in this race. Native River's very interesting, but I do think that Native River needs a little bit more time between his races nowadays. This is a quick turnaround from that Gold Cup, 20 days later, so I couldn't have him. Tiger Roll is the most interesting runner in this race. He needs to prove he can do it over regulation fences, but if he's going to do it anywhere, it's going to be here at Aintree. He is one I'd be scared of if I'm going to back Waiting Patiently. But it does just feel like they're trying to prove a point here with the handicapper and to say, look, he's not as good as you keep rating him. Unfortunately for the O'Learys, they need to realise that he's won 2 Grand Nationals and they need to rate him on that discipline specifically. So they've not got a leg to stand on. They don't know what they're talking about as far as I'm concerned. Clondall Castle, Mr. Fisher, Real Steel. More importantly, Mr. Fisher, Real Steel, ASO need to prove their stamina. Militarian's a very interesting outsider for me. I think if Waiting Patiently and Tiger Roll bomb out, then I think this is asking for a big upset. And Militarian, he's not one to write off at 125 to 1, I can tell you that now. But yeah, Clondall Castle's very interesting. Needs to improve on his handicap win over Eric LaRouge last time, beating him by 2 lengths. But I think Waiting Patiently, everything's in his favour at the moment. So I'll probably be siding with him. The 325 is an interesting race. It's very difficult. I think a lot of these have got negatives against them. I can't really trust McFabulous. He's at the head of the market. It's just whether he's up to the level now. It was a really poor showing at Fontwell. He jumped terribly behind Brewing Up a Storm. He needs to reverse that form. I'm just not sure he's going to be quick enough for this. I mean, normally horses that win this race are dropping back from the Stayers Hurdle or stepping up from the Champion Hurdle. That's sort of where you want to be looking, really. Not So Sleepy, for me, ran a really good race in the Champion Hurdle. He finished 5th. He was staying on. He was outpaced on occasion. But I think he could be suited by this step up and trip. The only issue with him is he's never won a race on good ground. So there are negatives with every runner in a race. Jason the Militant is the one I've come down on. He's the most progressive horse in the field. An absolute drumming of Petit Mouchoir last time, who subsequently went out and finished second in the County Hurdle off a big weight. That's a good piece of form there. But Jason the Militant has been running on soft and heavy ground, and Connection have made a point of saying that he wants soft or heavy ground. So I'm a little bit undecided in this race here. I'm not too sure what to expect. Buzz will enjoy this step up and trip. Bouvier is a little bit of an unknown rate. It's a risky proposition. Abracadabras I couldn't really have for me. I think there's far too many question marks for him to answer, and I don't think the step up and trip is going to suit him at all. I think he's been all out over 2 miles, and I think that trip stretches him as it is. So a very tricky race. No bet for me at the moment. The 405 is the Fox Hunters Chase. Won't spend too much time on this. I fancy Billaway. Like this horse at Cheltenham. Absolutely gutted when he got picked. Pipped on the line, so I will be signing with him again. I think the drop back and trip is definitely going to suit him. So Billaway for me in the 405. The 440, I've got one in there I do really like, and that is Moon over Germany. I can't believe he's a double figure price. I can't believe some of the horses are shorter prices than Moon over Germany. He was 14 to 1 earlier in the week. He's currently around 10 to 1, I think, best price. He's rated 145. Jordan Gainford takes off £7. Sorry, he's rated 148 over here in England. Jordan Gainford takes off £7, puts him on 141. Effectively £5 higher than when bolting up by 10 lengths, beating Lady Buttons in this race in 2019. I think this has been the target. He had a good prep spin at Navan in a Grade 2, finishing 4th, beating 16 lengths. Doesn't tell the story of the race. That was straight after a break on heavy ground, and he just faded at the final flight. I thought that was a good run. The second in that race came out and ran easy game close next time out, so the form of that's quite strong. That was his first chase run for quite some time, going back to November in 2019 when he was beaten by Notebook, just 5 lengths. Notebook is a very good horse in his own right. I think his form is the strongest overall. I think this is a very, very weak race, and Moon over Germany is definitely being plotted for another crack at this. The other one to keep an eye on in here is Jan Matt. He's around 20 to 1. I think this horse has got a little bit more to come. He caught the eye last time at Leopardstown for Henry de Bromhead. Rachel Blackmore gets back on board for the first time since Galway in July 20. And he just caught the eye, made a mistake at the third last. He really definitely wants good ground, so he could be well handicapped and he could be thrown in, but I think it's between the two Irish runners. I don't think the Brits are well ahead, any are well ahead of their mark. So yeah, I'm quite convinced that the two Irish runners are going to be in the first 4 or 5. So get 5 places, most places. 5:15. It's the final race on the day. I've not really got much opinion in the mares bumper. You put mares and you put bumper together, and it turns me off a little bit. I liked Elle, Belle. I thought she did really well in the champion bumper last time behind Sir Gerhard in a slowly run race, which was dictated from the front. She was held up at the rear of the field, and she did best of those from that racing position. So she was unfavoured by a racing position there. I think she's quite good, but she's got to give weight away to Eileen Dover, who has been even money in places this week, has now gone a shade of odds on, and quite rightly so, getting £7 from LS to Belle. But it's between the two. For me, obviously, as the market suggests, Eileen Dover probably the most likely winner. She did look a really nice horse and a power-packed horse. So that will be it for day 1. I'll be back on day 2. Check out the GG column. Thanks very much.